how do I start? Um, Politics dates back to about 25 years when I returned back from the US. And ever since then, I had the opportunity of serving here in Ekiti State. Started doing the special advisor, liaison officer in Ekiti State when Adebayo was in his first tenure before exiting government 2003. And ever since then, I've been in government by virtue of either an elective position, an appointment with executive governors. I've served as a special advisor to Ayodele Fayose when he was governor of the state. I served with Segun Oni as the Speaker of the House of Assembly. I've served during Governor Fayemi as in opposition then. I was the deputy chairman of PDP in the state, and equally served in his return back in government. I served Governor Fayemi again as a member of the House of Representatives. That's my first, cutting my first teeth in the National Assembly in Abuja. And here again, doing my second time with Governor Bao, Biodun Abayomi Oyebanji, fantastic guy. And I am here now, second time in the National Assembly House Committee Chairman on Delegated Legislation. I chaired the committee of FEMA in my first instance in the House of Reps. When you say the most turbulent time, the most tumultuous time of my life, and the most intriguing and interesting part of my time in politics so far. Interesting in the sense that I don't know how it happened in Ekiti State, where we were evenly spread out. Then I was in PDP, and there was the AC government then, ACN government then. And we had a 13-13 split, while we had Segun Oni as the governor of the state in PDP. So in the legislative in all theory and by assertion, I became the Speaker of the House of Assembly. But in actual fact, I've always said to a lot of our colleagues then that the opposition had the opportunity of having the majority in the House, because it's only when there's a tie that I as the Speaker would have to vote. And if you have a 13-13 House, it meant that ACN had 13 while the PDP had 12. And myself as the umpire couldn't vote. But unfortunately then our members didn't take advantage of that. And we had a seeming very tough time in the legislative arm, but a very productive time in Ekiti State. And I make bold to say this: the 13-13 House of Assembly is still the most productive in Ekiti State. Argumentatively, there could be a lot of A's and C's to that, but I clearly will tell you that I enjoyed that time, as difficult as it was. But to our members, we had a great time, sincerely. And unfortunately, we had lost some of the members now. I think 3 or 4 of them have passed on. My deputy speaker then has passed on. My member of the House of Assembly from Oye, Salindo we call him, fantastic guy, he's passed on. And Isiaka too from Ikole, he's passed on. And we have another gentleman from the AC extraction, the ACN extraction then, he's passed on it from Ilawe. But this is the most fun time of my life in politics up until now. As difficult as it was, that's where I really cut my teeth in politics. And whatever it is that I'm doing today, whatever achievements that you can ascribe to my person today, could have come from those very difficult times. It molded me as a person, and that's what I'm carrying up until now. Not really. A lot of people saw it as that. But the truth of the matter was, it brought a lot of competition amongst lawmakers. And for me, understudying politics the way it should be, how the theoretical definition of democracy and politics, that is how politics should be. Unfortunately, in most cases in Nigeria, as we speak today, most legislative arm of government in the state, it's always been a one-sided, one-way legislative arm, which majorly doesn't bring the best out of governance. But because the legislative arm of government should naturally be a check on the excesses of the executive. Doesn't mean we're going to be fighting, but it allows for thorough debates before any bill passes through the legislative arm, be it an executive bill, a private bill, or whatever bill it is. It will be debated thoroughly, and that's what you enjoy from having a house like a 13 spread house. First of its kind in Nigeria, not even Ekiti State alone. So that's why I said to you, I enjoyed it. It's a brainer, and it has given me a lot of experience. So that's I earned that from serving in that time. The 13 House of Assembly, the third House of Assembly, which is a 13 spread, are very vast-minded individuals. You had very seasoned lawyers amongst us. You had businesses, very great business-minded individuals, people from the diaspora, and a lot of vast mind. And it was a challenging time in the history, in the annals of Ekiti State. This was when a lot of people wanted to define who won the elections. Was it really PDP or ACN? So those times were difficult times. Those times were challenging. Those times were times when party structure or the party itself, political party, had total and absolute control of lawmakers. Those were the times where before you come to the State Assembly, you probably would have gone for tutorials by leadership of your party to guide you on what needs to be addressed, talked about, or discussed on the floor. Because at every opportunity when you leave the floor to adjourn for the next day, the issues that will be discussed are not new issues. They are issues that were talked about the day before that we adjourned till the next day. So everybody knew what we were going to discuss and talk about. So you had thorough briefing from leadership of the party. And these were those times, the Fire Me, Sheguni time in Ekiti State. So when people come and say, these are times that people earned a lot, I wonder what they mean by earning a lot. Yes, it was difficult for Sheguni then as governor, because in all fairness, whatever bill comes, be it the budget bill that comes on a yearly basis, it's not just going to come like that. Because members should be telling you that, yes, what is in this budget for my constituent? What is in this budget for the interest of Ekiti State? And the governor truly wants the budget to fly. Without a shadow of doubt, a lot of things would have to happen. When I say a lot of things needs to happen, it's either the governor attends to the fact that as lawmakers, okay, let me give you a very typical example. I, as Speaker of the House of the Assembly then, traveled to Port Harcourt, River State. My friend of blessed memory, Tony Harris, was the speaker then. And on that visit was a speakers conference. That was where we realized that there's a lot of things that needs to be done, particularly in the Southwest, not just limited to Ekiti State alone. And what you call the constituency allowances was what was brought. We introduced it into Ekiti State then. And having a governor like Shegoni, who understood clearly that what you see today, happening in the country today now, regarding lawmakers attending to more of what the executive should do, has been in time past, in 2007. Because the economy too then had been dragging, and things were not as it used to be in the past. So at that point in time, you found out that all we did was, Mr. Governor, we need what is called constituency allowances. And a lot of people misconstrue this constituency allowance for giving out cash to lawmakers. No, and let me use this opportunity again to clear the air on that, because I am not sure if this present house gets what is called the constituency allowance. But in my time, we had 5 million per quarter, which runs to about 20 million a year for constituency allowance. But I make bold to tell you, go to every constituency as we speak today, you will see the prints of every lawmaker in their constituency. In my local government, I make clearly, if you go, you see those prints there as we speak. all the things we did with the monies at that point in time. So what does this 20 million stand for? It comes in quarterly at 5 million. The constituency says these are the things that we're looking for. There's a program that I anchored then. It's called Meet Your Legislator. I did that as the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and I go back to my constituents at least once every month to have a meeting with the old folks, the mothers, the fathers, those that voted for me. And we threw the teasers at them, the poser of what are the things that are needed in the constituency. Because obviously, even by making laws, it is not for you to make laws abstractly. You need to converse with the people that put you in office. And they would have 2 or 3 issues to discuss with you. These are very paramount things that are needed in the constituents. So those are the things that we bring back during the budget process. With all that I've learned, I've been in this game now. With all modesty, I'm a seasoned lawmaker. I've done it in the state. I'm doing it 2 times now in the National Assembly in the House of Reps. So I have garnered enough experience to tell you that lawmaking is not just a tea party thing. It's not for the feeble-minded. You really need to understand what you're doing. You could be, for instance, you could be in the National Assembly in Abuja for 4 years and don't even have an imprint in the National Assembly. You're dealing with over 360 people. The whole of the country, Nigeria, is seated in the National Assembly in your various constituencies. So you need to have the power of lobbying, you need to have the power of relating, you need to have the power of understanding, you need to be vocal, and you need to be constructive in all that you do. So it's not better. There are a lot of lawyers that are into politics in the legislative arm of government. That much I can tell you. I'm very sure in the National Assembly, in the House of Reps, we would have nothing less than 50 of them that are lawyers. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a lawyer. You just need to understand the plights of your people, and you should be able to represent them vocally, verbally, and in all expressions. And that's the business of lawmaking. You need to understand what you're there for. It's not just a business for the young minds. Ekiti's, when we came in the Third Assembly, Ekiti was still a bit young. But what you see now, and that's what I applauded the present speaker for. He's done a fantastic job, sincerely. I said it when I came in one of his programs that I was invited for the last time. And I make bold to say this. I'm a giver of, I don't mince words. I say it the way I say it. He has taken that legislative arm of government to another level, which we didn't have when we were there. And for me, I say it as I see it, like I said. So we're improving. And I just said to you, don't forget, you're more or less parallel to what is happening in the National Assembly as we speak. All your visuals are seen on a daily basis. Your sittings are seen around the world. And people view this. And what else do we do in the National Assembly outside of that? Nothing. But I'm not sure if you have started electronic voting yet. Even in the National Assembly, we haven't. So if you have done that, so which means you are even surpassing what we have done or what we are presently doing in the National Assembly. We haven't gotten the electronic voting system yet. So I say it all sincerely. The executive, the legislative arm, the way the symbiotic relationship between the 2 arms of government without the speaker condescending to being a washout from the executive. It's a parallel system. And I say this not because I'm from Ekiti State. This is a fantastic state to be from. Just like I said, the one-party system, the true experience from what I got, I enjoyed the 13-13 spread in the House. I said to you, our debates were thorough. Our bills weren't just bills that came to the House and just was passed in 1 day or 2 days. A bill could be in the State Assembly when I was there for 3 months, battling it, finding how this bill would sail through. There would be thorough arguments on the bill and a very thorough debate before that bill would see the light of day. So those are the things that you benefit from having such an House of Assembly than a unitary House of Assembly where you just have one single party spread. But even at the single party, if the lawmakers there understand what they are doing, it doesn't mean that bills should come to and it shouldn't be argued the way it should. And it doesn't mean because you're all from the party of the government or government in power that you won't have to do your basic duties. And that's what I see again in this president, the seventh house. I watch their sittings most times, even whilst in Abuja. And I see the level at which they debate. And it really, I love it. I love it. So, but I would say for me, the way I've seen politics play, I would prefer a system whereby there's a check even within if you look at the National Assembly, in the House of Reps, we're in the minority, I would say. And if you allow me argue being in the minority even when I'm in APC, the total of the opposition is more than the APC. It's about 180 to 150 or something like that. I think APCs were about 150 or 160 members. We're not up to half of the House of Reps. But in the sense of argument, we're in the majority because we're in government of the day. And we use every instrumentality of government to be able to coerce and attract and bring other political parties to see our views when we are trying to do things. I give you examples of so many bills that has just gone through. I'll give you an example of what happened in the suspension or suspension of the governor of Rivers State. You saw clearly on that particular day that we had gone into a family affair whereby we discussed amongst ourselves the pros and cons of this pronouncement of the governor, of the president, and what it meant to the country and what exactly should happen if this was allowed to continue, the imbroglio that was going on in Rivers State. And you saw on that particular day that nobody gave a nay to the questions of the speaker when it was posed to every member. So there is a seeming understanding when you have an House of Assembly that is not unitary, that has a composition of so many political parties, and allow for the expression of whatever is good for the country or the state to be pronounced at the State Assembly. It's not a business of a lawmaker to be given empowerments, to be given, but unfortunately, even when we've been provided with the opportunity to do it, which is the constituency allowance funds, when you have these constituency allowance funds, again, let me quickly say this before people get it wrong. The constituency allowance funds are not given to you in cash. You understand? You saw what the caucus leader, the Senate leader did about a week or two ago here in Ado. A lot of people could have said he used his monies to... No. That is his constituency allowance funds that he has used in giving back to the people of his senatorial district.
Not for personal problems.
And not... That's right. And not for personal problems. You cannot run away from that. My wife just had, that's the way they say it. My wife just had a baby, and you start asking yourself, my wife is at home. I didn't impregnate my wife, but you have so many issues. I want to roof my property. I want to send my kid to school. These are things that you will have to do, even if you're not a lawmaker. So these are the demands that comes with the office. So it's a Kulian, but we're surmounting it, and we're praying that the economy of the country changes, and if it does change, I think, and very likely, this would reduce drastically. By law, as defined in democracy, in politics itself, the presidential system that we run, it's only the executive that does not have the tendencies to do more than 2 terms, which is elected 2 terms. It doesn't matter, I could run 5 years in a term or 4 years in a term. As practiced in Nigeria, it's a 4-year in a term. So you have a governor can't go more than 8 years. The president can't do more than 8 years. But in the legislative arm of government, it has been explicitly put in law. You could be there for life. The moment you are elected back by your constituents, or the party gives you a ticket to rerun an election. And the advantage of this, I would say to you, is the history of the legislature is kept in place when you have seasoned lawmakers that are running in the National Assembly or in the State Assembly. You can imagine a situation whereby when we came in the Third Assembly, we were all neophytes, fresh from different parts of the world or different parts of Ekiti. So even to choose a speaker became an issue. We were looking at the zoning ordinance. Who comes from where the governor is, who comes from where the deputy governor is, the speaker should come from the 3rd senatorial district. And when this does happen, the history of the legislature erodes the entire state and the national and the state assembly. So it is quite important that we allow for people to run, particularly, I say this all the time, underline the word, if the person in question or the people in question are people who understand what they're doing, who had delivered for the state, for their constituents, and are doing well. In America, you say, if it is not broken, you don't change it. If you have a cup of tea in your house and the cup is not broken, why are you buying a new cup of tea except you just want to go and change your dining area, your dining set? So the truth of the matter is we need to allow for our lawmakers to have opportunities of returning to the legislative arm of government. I will give you instances. The Senate leader today, Michael Olufemi Bamisile, had served in Ekiti State as a House of Rep member one time. He did an election, I think he lost by virtue of the tsunami that took everybody out of office. He's come back to do the Senate the first time. His second approach to coming into the Senate was what earned him the Senate leadership. If you are thrown a neophyte to go to the Senate, he's just going to be a floor member. If you look at the House of Reps as we speak today, there are 6 of us there. About 3 of us are holding chairmanship positions. Fatoba is House Committee Chairman Information. The young man from Ikole is House Committee Chairman, is the voice of the House. I'm Committee Chairman on Delegated Legislation. The new ones would have to learn the trade. What gave our young brother from Ikole the opportunity is because he has that tendencies and the capacity from the state. And that was proven within the little time he came into the National Assembly. That was how he could have earned himself that particular position. So if you allow for new people to constantly be thrown into the foremost stand, yes, our people back home will tell you, issue you delay. I don't understand what that means. If we're looking for the dividends of democracy, as we call it, to return back to our states, another very fine example that I will give you here today will be this example of the former speaker that I served with in the Night House, Bamisile. Bamisile did his first term, his second term from Lagos Surulere local government. He has only 6 wards that make up his federal, 6 wards make up his federal constituency. His third term, he was minority leader. He became majority leader and ended up becoming the Speaker of the House. He probably would not have earned that position as Speaker in the Ninth House if he hadn't served for that length of time with that vast experience. Today now he's the Chief of Staff to the President. He won the election to come for his 6th term, but he jettisoned that seat for a higher position. And I grew up in Surulere, in Lagos, his constituency, Eric Montahas. You need to go to Surulere to see what Surulere has turned to in the history of Lagos State. So this clearly tells you, if we're looking for those things that we're asking that we should get from the national, look at what MOB has brought to him, the Federal University. In a space of, forgetting the fact that he has a godfather as the president of the country, no doubt, but the ability to have done that was born out of the fact that he had that continued experience to be in the National Assembly. So those are the things that has become important for us to understand in Ekiti State. That this idea of Once he does well, give the opportunity for continuity, for growth, and that brings development. How would you have looked at the transition of Fayemi, two-term governor, easy transition to Bao, and look at what Bao is doing today. Compare it to when Ekiti was still in the doldrum, when it was a party today, in 4 years, another political party. Another 4 years, another political party. There can't be any development. It's going to be constant war on each member or on each group of people that comes to serve within the state. But look at Ekiti. Ekiti is one of, if not the most peaceful. Bao has gotten almost 7 awards in the past, God knows, 2, 3, 4 months. One asks, is he the only governor in Nigeria? But that's what you benefit from, continuity. And particularly, not just continuity alone, from people who understand and know what they're doing. In all fairness, I will always refer back to my time in the Third House. I think it's a relationship. It becomes difficult, the way the system is structured. It becomes extremely very difficult. The powers that are in the hands of the executive in this country is enormous, and they don't want to devolve. Every governor wants to. The interesting part of it is there's so many bills that I see in the National Assembly, both in the House of Reps and the Senate, that I have a very close friend who has slept in this house at a point in time before. He was governor of Abia State, Ojius Okalu. He's the second-term senator as we speak. And I've asked him this question severally. Oga, when you were governor of your state, most of these bills that are flying here, you will say it would not go. Particularly this autonomy. You never wanted an autonomy when you were governor of your state. But now that you're on the other side, as a lawmaker, you are advocating for autonomy. The question now comes, what has changed? That clearly tells you it's absolute power corrupts absolutely. So for me as a person, whilst I was in the Third House with the governor, Segun Oni, we had a partial autonomy. We fought for it. We spoke to him gently because I had gone right around the entire nation, going to speakers' conference in the north, the southeast, and the south-south, even in the southwest there. We even wanted to bring a speakers' conference to Ekiti State. And at every opportunity that I met with my fellow brothers, conference of speakers and all that, it became very clear that you seemingly will get this through only with the relationship with your own state governor. And that's exactly what we did in Ekiti. Remember, in Ekiti State, the legislative arm of government had this convoy even before its vehicles, retinue of vehicles, even before the executive governor had theirs. We saw it there. When I came in, I was given, what do you call this vehicle again? It's not even a Camry, it's Avensis, a black Avensis. And I remember clearly the day I went to the speakers' conference first in Abuja. Even when the convoy commander was driving towards the venue, I was saying to him, no, you have the wrong place. This cannot be where the speakers are having a meeting, by virtue of the vehicles that I saw in front of me. So, but when we got there, I found out if it wasn't that I had a Western orientation and upbringing, the likelihood is I probably would have even been able to speak in the midst of my peers. But I summoned up courage and I expressed myself. And by the time I returned back to Ekiti, that was the beginning of getting that autonomy. I addressed the governor in a very seeming understanding manner that this is Ekiti State and we need to portray ourselves even when we go on the outside as Ekiti people and as peaceful as we are, that we're not backward as people look onto us in those dark days. And the governor accepted to that fact, and we purchased our vehicles at that point in time. And for the first time, the speaker had a convoy of about most 5 vehicles, even with an ambulance with it. So that tells you that Ekiti could be anything they want it to be, in all fairness. And that's why I appreciate this young man, the President Speaker, too. He has done a lot of achievements for the legislative arm. It makes me proud as a former Speaker of this state. I am one who looks for the good of this country. particularly the state that I come from. A lot of people look at me and wonder, you didn't grow up in Ekiti, you didn't school in Ekiti, but all my investments are in Ekiti. That will marvel you. I love Ekiti so much, and I'm trying to give back in any way that I can to the state. So much Nigeria as a country. I've taken my time to understudy the presidential system of government. It's really not working for us. And I make bold to tell you on this particular program that I'm one of those who is advocating for a parliamentary system of government. It took about almost 7 of us to start it in the House of Reps, this 10th house. I'm amongst the 7 that started that, the movement. And I wish this country, in all fairness, it doesn't matter what is expended on the presidential system of government is unimaginable. I just came back from Ghana 5 days ago. Myself and my wife, we were at East Legon. The president doesn't even live in the presidential villa in Ghana. He lives in an estate, in his own private home. He was in a convoy of 4 vehicles when we met him, myself and my wife, in a 5-day holiday. And the guy who was driving us was telling us that is the president pulling out. The president's convoy is like the convoy of the assembly speaker even has a better convoy. And the man waves virtually to everybody on his way out. There's another country that I saw on social media where the prime minister comes out and goes to his neighborhood and greets everybody. This is how governance should be. I don't know why we attract so many officers to ourselves when we're going out, like someone wants to kill you. Those are the same people who voted for you in office. So the truth of the matter is, I strongly believe that a parliamentary system of government will work better for Nigeria. I was saying to someone, I lived in the US for 16 years. There's what you call the tri-state understanding among states. I live in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. Those are the tri-states. Why can't we try the same system here in Nigeria? Applying the tri-state system, whereby you have Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti. There are neighboring states. Instead of when the governor wants to travel to Abuja, because they all go to Abuja once every at least they stay in Abuja 2 or 3 days in a week for the FEC meetings and all that. So when the governors are traveling, in time past, a governor will go with a convoy of about almost 15 vehicles, 20-something mobile officers. Everybody gets ESTA code traveling out of the state. But now I think it has been reduced to the governor could just get a plane and just jet out on his own. You understand? But why can't a tri-state system brings about having a private jet for the 3 states, bought by the 3 governors, owned by them? So when they are traveling to Abuja on official duties, the 3 of them can go at the same time. The PJ will move from one airport to the other, pick that, and they jet out. It reduces the cost of traveling. It's even cheaper to take a private jet now than to take a convoy of 20-something vehicles. Because to fill a tank in Nigeria of today and to put all those mobile officers to secure the governor in Nigeria of today is much more expensive than taking a PJ out, if you do the simple calculation to it. So there are a lot of things that are happening that one wonders. Truly, that's how, and that's why you see Nigerians or the citizenry saying that if we want to change in this country, it has to start from us as a people. And starting from us is basically reducing so many things. I appreciate the Speaker of the House of Reps. Sometime this December, this Iftar thing, we had I think about 40-something of us who are chairmen of committees in the House of Reps. We went to have the Iftar to break fast with the president. And the monies that we contributed for about 6 months, when there was issue in the country regarding the economy, blah, 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 I remember that each member was donating an X amount of money, half of our salaries. It amounted to 700 and something million naira the speaker presented it on that particular day to the president, that this should be able to cushion whatever he feels comfortable to give back to Nigerians on. So that clearly tells you, if we reduce most of our spendings, the likelihood is we might be able to help this country further the way it should be. We are not angels, and we shouldn't be seen as such. We came out from the bunch of the people, and we'll return to that bunch at a point in time. There's a beginning, and there's an exit point. So we should understand as lawmakers or as politicians that that day would come, that you return back to the bunch. What becomes of you if you can't relate back to the same bunch that you are out from? So for me as a person, I have an open policy. My doors are open to everybody here in Abuja, anywhere. And I don't get it wrong. I have security guys that are staying there because I leave my wife here in Ekiti. It's strategic to just have them there. The doors are open from 6 in the morning and it's shut when the last man leaves. It could be 2 a.m. So, and it's a picket fence. Everybody sees what I'm doing. There's nothing to hide.
Quite interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members of REP, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hopefully next week we also need to talk to you.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.